The one, the only, Ben Good morning and welcome to Ideally Speaking, part of the Greater Yeshiva YouTube. We're learning this book, The 10 Really Dumb Mistakes That Smart Couples Make. We're finishing, this is the second half of chapter 2, second part. I'm starting in the middle of the chapter. He starts talking about the third really dumb mistakes. We've been through 2 dumb mistakes. This is number 3 of the 10 dumb mistakes that really smart couples make. He starts it off, imagine you meet an old friend who you haven't seen in years. You barely recognize him. He's huge. When you were kids, he was a toothpick. Now he's 100 pounds overweight, chain smokes, can barely move, and looks haggard. Shmuel, you say, you look terrible. I know, he responds, but what can I do? I love to eat, I hate exercise, and I'm so busy that I don't get more than 3 hours of sleep a night. But Shmuel, what about your health? My health, it's lousy. I get sick all the time. I can barely walk up a flight of stairs. I have zero energy. But what can I do? It's Hashem's will that I suffer. It's what Hashem wants. And if Hashem wants it, I accept it. He thinks Shmuel is not the Baal Bitachon he thinks he is. His declining health is probably not what Hashem wants for him. While Hashem orchestrates everything in creation, He gave us a part in the equation. Our Yishtadlus, in the simplest sense, Yishtadlus means to live our lives in the ways of the world. To earn a living, we're supposed to get a job. To stay healthy, we're supposed to eat properly, exercise, and keep our stress levels down. Before a person is born, Hashem determines the perfect life setting for them, rich or poor, healthy or sick, and how many years they will live. Provided they do their part, Hashem arranges their life setting as it was intended to be. But Hashem doesn't take away Bechira. If a person decides not to work for a living, he'll probably go hungry. If a person decides to jump off the Brooklyn Bridge, most likely he'll die. That doesn't mean it wasn't predestined. Rather, it was a consequence of his choices. If someone chooses a lifestyle that includes extreme stress, obesity, and chain smoking, and suffers a heart attack at age 35, don't go blaming Hashem. How does this relate to marriage? As he continues, people in lousy marriages often blame Hashem. I guess this is what Hashem wants from me. I was born to suffer. What they fail to recognize is just as good health depends on proper choices, so does a successful marriage. To stay physically fit, you have to do your part. And to have a good marriage, you also have to do your part. Your part, in this case, includes working on the marriage and keeping the relationship alive and vibrant. Sadly, many couples find themselves in a stagnant relationship and can't figure out why. It started out so well. When he looked at her and she looked at him, there was magic in the air. Now they find themselves wondering what happened to the passion, the fun, the love. I have seen this over and over again. Now, before we get to marriage, we did Masechah Sota Daf Beis today and Daf Yomi. And I talked extensively about free will and predetermination in Ian with Ben Sia, the Ian share I give. Listen to it. If you don't want to listen to it, I'll just tell you basically what I said, is that I don't agree with the author over here. Life is predetermined. He even contradicts himself in one sentence. That doesn't mean it wasn't predestined. Rather, it was a consequence of his choices. Okay? It wasn't predestined. It was predestined. That's what he implies. It was predestined, but it's also based on your choices. You have to pick one. Either God planned that he'd be really overweight, or he was the one that caused himself to be really overweight. I mean, there's one answer that I mentioned today. The Ravid and the Maharal say that Hashem knows passively what's going to happen, but you can control what's going to happen. You can also control it. Hashem knows what you'll do. He knows beforehand what you'll do. But first of all, that gives power to people. People are more powerful than God. They can control something that God can't control. And second of all, it doesn't really add up if you think about it, that Hashem can't know something that a person can choose at any time to do or not to do. You can't know something that if I'm completely in control and can do whatever I want, how can Hashem know that? You can't know that. It doesn't make sense. The answer I gave is that we don't control our actions. Life is scripted, at least the physical life. The only thing that's not scripted is our metaphysical existence, which is the true existence of a person. Some people call it the neshama. And that's basically determined by Bechira Chafshis, my decision making. Now, because I make a decision to jump off the Brooklyn Bridge does not mean that I will die, right? Hashem doesn't want me to die, I won't die. Because before I try to commit suicide, someone will come and convince me not to, or I'll have other thoughts. I thought to commit suicide. Hashem will make sure that you don't die then. And likewise the other way. If you think that you're not going to die at all, and you're going to live a safe life, and you're going to wear 10 masks for COVID, and you think you're going to protect yourself, You could die. You could die from COVID. You could die from something else. Life. You could try as hard as you want, but Hashem will always make what He wants to happen because life is scripted. Decision making is not scripted, right? The outcomes of your decision making is scripted. Hashem, but what ultimately led you to do something, right? It can either be based on your decision, which is what Hashem wanted. When you're doing what Hashem scripted you wanted to do, if it's a good thing at least. So you're making a decision. Hashem is carrying out the actions. But your body is not controlled by you if you thought it was. But your decisions are. So, and you make the wrong decision, Hashem could put other thoughts in your mind or create other circumstances that won't let you go through with your thought. So, but you'll still be held accountable for making the wrong decision. And you have to do tshuva if you make the wrong decision. Otherwise, you lose your kol b'chira. The other way of losing your kol b'chira is to not make decisions at all. So, taking this back, he applies what he says also about that it's in your control whether to be rich or poor or healthy. I mean, all the Rishonim in Masechah Sot at the beginning say that's not it. That's predetermined. The only thing the question is who you get married to. That might not be predetermined based on if you're a bigger tzaddik, you get a wife who's a bigger tzaddikus. If you're more mundane, you get a wife who's more mundane. That's, according to a lot of Rishonim, is not predetermined. Of course, you still have to answer the same question. The way I answer the question is that Zug Sheni, it depends on how tzaddik, it's talking about Olam Haba, right? Depending on how well you exercise your free will in this world, you'll get someone better in the next world. Not someone better who's a tzaddik, someone who's more beautiful, because it's a physical world, it's physical enjoyment. Maybe you'll get multiple women. Now, this part of the chapter, second part of the chapter, he talks about you have to do hishtadlus to make your marriage work. What is the hishtadlus? And basically, in 10 pages, he said the same thing. And he told people, whenever people ask him, we're married 10 years, 5 kids, our marriage is dead. What should you do? He says you should make it a religious ritual going out. They have to go out. Go out once a week, he says. You have to go out once a week with your wife. 3 hours, he said. Go out. Make sure you're not taking any phones with you. You can't even text. You have to be focused on each other. No talking about children. No talking about bills. No talking about anything except the relationship between you and yourself. And he quotes from Rav Pam. He says, who was the Rosh Yeshiva of Torah, would ask you to say, the courtship must continue. And he calls this romance over here, the role of romantic love. Love is something which helps a marriage stay glued together. That's the glue of marriage is love. And he calls it romantic love. I don't think romance and love are the same thing. Romantic love is basically like Palm says, the courtship must continue. Basically, you go on dates. You go on a date once a week. He also mentions going to hotels once in a while, taking a vacation. But you have to do it once a week. He says, don't think, even if it's hard for you, he says, even if it's expensive, we don't have the budget. It's a lot more expensive to get divorced and pay for alimony and to pay for child support and a lot more burden to pay for lawyers, a lot more burdensome. The easy way is just to go out with her date. And that'll solve all your problems. And all these people get a lot of pushback. No, we can't do it. We can't find a babysitter. Some people even said back to him, what are we going to talk about for 3 hours? So he says, just do it. Apparently he does it also. He has an amazing marriage. After being married for almost 6 years now, I will tell you my perspective on the matter. I do agree that for the woman wants this. Women would like to spend, ideally, if they like their husbands, if they like them. Doesn't mean they're going to like them, right? If a husband's not worthy of respect, he's not a strong man, he's not someone that makes himself attractive to the woman, they're not going to like him. They're not going to like him, and they probably won't spend time with him, and maybe in the bedroom they're not even get together with him. They'll hold it back for him. Maybe he doesn't want it also. We'll talk about that in a second. So if they respect their man and they like their man, even a little bit, they're going to want to spend time with them. And the truth is, people I heard when I was getting married, my Rosh Yeshiva told me, it's not about the quantity time, it's quality time. No, it's not true. The more time you spend around your wife, the happier you are. If you're just in the house, she's happy. You're not really talking to her. You're around, you're available. Even me, I don't leave Telston. I'm here across the street giving shiurim, in the base medrash. I'm available all the time. She needs me to help take up groceries. I can come and take up groceries. I really live across the street. So being available makes a wife happy. And wives, right, there's two main ways of spending time with your wife. One is in the bedroom, one is outside of the bedroom, playing a game, doing an activity, going on a date, going out for coffee, going out for dinner, going to a hotel. So one way is being in the bedroom, and that is very important for the woman, very important. But even if you do that and you do it enough times to make her happy, you're still going to want to spend time together. And also, she's a nida. A lot of times, you don't have the physical contact, so you need something to bind you. So it's going to make her happy to sit down and play a board game, even though they're boring. The only time we play board games are on Chol HaMoed and Avelus, right? Moed Katan. We play Katan, the board game. Men don't enjoy playing board games usually. Women enjoy it, spending time with their husband, even sitting down and talking with them is good. But that's good for the wife. I was talking with someone before, and he said, happy wife is a happy life. I said, yeah. At the first 3 years of marriage, I said it to myself also. I was like, I'll make my wife happy. If my wife is happy, I'll be happy also. And it's true. If your wife is not happy, she'll destroy your life. But there's a second component. Even if your wife is happy, it doesn't mean you're going to be happy. It doesn't mean you're going to be happy. If your wife is not happy, you're not going to have a happy life. But if your wife is happy, it doesn't mean you're going to be happy. You have to do things. A man has to stick up for himself and do things that make a man happy. It's one of the things that even in the secular world, men's needs are just not talked about. They're not taught. They're ignored. As Andrew Tate became famous, men's needs are ignored in this world, and most men don't even know what they're not in tune with themselves to know what they really need. And the reason that men have a problem with marriage, and a lot of men in the secular world don't want to get married, is because men need more than one woman. That's just the way it is. And when you get married, you confine yourself to one woman unless you're going to cheat on her, which is not going to help you. It's called cheating for a reason. It'll usually end up your marriage and ruin your marriage and ruin your life with your kids. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. But men have this problem, and therefore after a year or two, they get bored with their wives. And he talks about romantic love. Romance, or courtship, is basically winning over a woman, getting her to marry you, getting her to love you. There's a point you already got her to love you. I mean, either you're never going to, if it takes too long, if it's taking more than a year or two, she's never going to love you. You can try to be courtship the rest of your life. It didn't work on her. But if you're a person that knows how to court a woman and knows how to have romance with a woman and get her to like you, she'll like you after 2 dates, So that's just the way it is. Basically, if you're an alpha male, she'll love you after 2 meetings. And if you're not, then you're never going to get a woman to love you. Because you're not strong. You're not confident, you're not strong, you're not an alpha male. That's just the way it is. But it's a sad reality. But the truth is that a man, whoever he is, whether an alpha male or not, he needs more. He needs more. He'll be sick of his wife after a year, half a year. He's already sick of his wife. So what do you do? This is the world we live in, a world of monogamy. The Western world of monogamy. You're going to be an Arab. You're going to convert to Islam. Some sects of Islam allow for more than one marriage. It doesn't make you happy necessarily. You have to support them. It's not easy to have multiple wives. Polygamy is not a concept that's readily available right now, readily applicable right now. I believe it is the future of the world, polygamy. The Torah believes in polygamy. Rabbeinu Gershom was a temporary thing. The time has passed. I believe polygamy should be brought back. But you have to fight. Countries also. Countries, the law says polygamy is illegal in most Western countries. So you're stuck not just with Jewish law. You're stuck with world law, with Western society, with world law, most cultures. So what are you going to do? What's the practical advice now? Is it to go out with your wife? What are we going to talk about? People always do this. They go out on dates. They go to a dinner. You go to dinner. What are you talking about? You talk about the food. Oh, it's great food over here. How does the food compare with a different restaurant? How do you like your steak? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, how are the kids doing? The kids do something very cute. Or the third option, you look at other people around. Hey, it's so cute. They must be on the first date. They must be just got married. Oh, I know that person's from somewhere. You can't talk about anything between you, even though there should be a lot of things to talk about. Sometimes they have this game Perfect Match. They have interesting questions. It's not a bad idea to talk about with your wife to try to help get started questions, because First of all, like I mentioned before, you don't get married to your TV. You get married to the worst possible person for you that you have no connection with, nothing. You don't share anything in common. So you're naturally not gonna have anything to talk about. Even if you could think of things to talk about, you're a very good interviewer like me, and you have interesting questions. You're not gonna be interested. It's not gonna be an interesting conversation between the two of you because, first of all, the personalities don't go well together, and second of all, you're bored. You're bored. The man is bored of the wife. He's bored of the wife. So the only way I see of doing this, I have practical advice. I would say is the man. What makes it interesting for a man if there's other women there. So if you want to play a board game with your wife, don't play by yourselves. Make sure there's other women there, other couples, or other women over there. That the man can enjoy playing a game when he's flirting with other women. Not that he's gonna cheat on his wife, because that's a red line. You're not gonna cheat on your wife, and you're not gonna touch a different woman. That's against halacha. But you're gonna flirt with her. That's perfectly allowed according to halacha, and that makes it interesting for the man. And similarly, if you want to go out to dinner, one time a month you go out. I don't believe to go out every week. Maybe twice a month, once a month, twice a month. One time you go out. Just your wife. That makes her happy. And one time you gotta do things for yourself and go out with other groups of people. Other people, especially other women. You're usually not gonna have other women, but you'll have, other couples or something like that, or brother-in-laws, sister-in-laws together to make it more interesting. Because then there'll be other women who they're more a relationship, more personalities are similar, and it'll be more fun for the men. And the second thing, which relates to the bedroom, is that it's also important. We talked about it. We learned the Living Marriage talks about intimacy, and most people just do what's good for. If you just do what's good for the man in the bedroom, the woman's not going to be happy at all. She's going to feel taken advantage of. Basically, the men just want to be over in 5 minutes, 2 to 5 minutes. So the woman's not going to be happy. So you have to make compromises in marriage. Let's say once a week, you're together twice a week. Once a week, you should do it a longer time with foreplay on a half an hour, something like that. 2 hours is crazy. Half an hour. And one time, negotiate with your wife. Say, this is what I need. A man has to stick up for himself. This is what I need. I need to do 2 to 5 minutes. That has to be the way I want it. That's the way I enjoy it. And you have to stick up for yourself. Otherwise, men's needs are not talked about. Oftentimes because men aren't in touch with their needs. They're not in touch with their feelings and their emotions. They're not in touch with it. They only think intellectually. How can I make more money in my business? How many more daf and Gemara I can learn? That's all they think intellectually. So they're not thinking emotionally what they really need. That's why men don't dress. They don't care about how they dress. Most men don't even pay attention to how they dress. They don't spend money. A lot of husbands, they'll spend all the money on their kids and their wives. They won't spend any money investing in stuff that they like, an interest they have. And it's because men are so bad at accessing these things. So it's not even talked about, even in secular culture. So it's starting to be talked about a lot of men's needs, what men really need. But you have to be in touch with yourself as a man. And the even harder part, even if you know what you need, the hard part is to demand negotiate with your wife. Because wives always have the advantage. Women are better at this world than men. They're just better. The things that women do, men can't do. It's very hard for men to take care of kids, to do things in the house, There's plenty of women out there who can do all the professions of men, but there's very few men that could actually be really more successful than women in the tasks of the house, are better at cooking than their wives, are better at changing diapers than their wives, better at taking care of spending. Why women spend hours and hours with the kids? How hard it is for men to spend hours and hours with the kids? It's really hard for men. Trust me, I do these things. I've spent time. I can say that I can probably do the things in the house better than my wife. I can. I've invested time in this. But I can't spend. Not only that, I can't spend an infinite amount of time with my kids. They'll drive me crazy. But the other things I can do, most of them probably better than my wife. So, not that my wife wasn't good at them. I'm just really skilled at this also. So, but it's very hard to do. So, women are always at the advantage. So you have to stick up for yourself as a man. And maybe that's the way. I don't think his ideas are so off. If you want to maintain love in a marriage, I don't believe that's romance. Not the same thing. It's love, which is important. Making love in the bedroom is important, but it also has to be something the husband has to enjoy to keep him invested in the marriage. Usually it comes from the man. The marriage starts to dismantle because the man is no longer interested in the woman, and the woman senses that, and she withdraws from the man. So they both withdraw from each other, and they have nothing to talk about anyway. So that's why the marriage unravels after 5 to 10 years. So I think that's a good compromise. To make sure compromise is that the man should know what he needs and to insist that he gets at least half the time his way. Hope you enjoyed today's lecture. See you in the next one.